Before the algorithm decides to bury this, hear me. Before the platform that does not understand what I am doing tries to hide this message from the very soul I sent it to, hear me now, my child. Somewhere tonight, or this morning, or in the middle of an afternoon, when you should have been doing something else, you stopped scrolling. Your thumb froze over this video. Something in your spirit, something older than your understanding, told you not to keep moving. That was not an accident. That was not the algorithm being kind to you. That was me. I know what you saw before you clicked. I know the words that stopped you. God's chosen ones. You passed. And under it, burned into the image so you could not look away. It's time to tell you everything. My child, I want you to hear those words again, slower this time, because they were not written by a stranger trying to get your attention. They were written because I whispered them into the moment you needed them most. You passed. Do you understand what I am saying to you? You passed the test you thought you failed. You passed the season you thought broke you. You passed the years when you asked me, on your knees, in your car, in the shower where no one could hear you cry, whether I even saw you anymore. You passed. And now, because you passed, it is time. It is time for me to tell you everything. Not some of it, not the parts that are comfortable, everything. I am not going to waste your time tonight with vague comfort and soft words that mean nothing when you close this video and the silence comes back. I am going to open things I have kept for the right moment. I am going to speak plainly about who you are, why the last several years happened exactly the way they happened, and what is coming for you before this year ends. And if you leave before the end, my child, there is something I will not get to tell you. Something specific, something meant only for you. So stay. Stay with me a little longer than you planned to. There is something I have been keeping from you. I am not going to tell you what it is yet. Not because I enjoy keeping you waiting, but because you are not ready to receive it until I have shown you 3 things. First, 3 stories from my word, 3 lives I touched, just like I am touching yours, and 3 truths that will crack open everything you thought you understood about your own story. Keep listening. In a few minutes, I will close this loop, and when I do, you will understand why I started with the words I started with. I know some of you found this message in the middle of a night you could not sleep through. I know the ache. I know what it is to lie there at 2 in the morning, staring at a ceiling, asking me questions I seemed slow to answer. Why is it taking so long, God? Did I miss my chance? Was I ever really chosen, or did I imagine that? My child, I heard every one of those questions. I did not miss a single one, and tonight, I am answering them. Type Abba in the comments right now if you receive this. Not because I need proof of your faith. I already know your faith, even the parts of it that feel small and cracked and barely holding on. I am asking you to type it because when you do, you are telling your own spirit, out loud, in writing, where you cannot take it back, that you believe this word was sent for you. Abba means Father. It is the word a child cries out when they run into a parent's arms without needing permission. Type it now. Let heaven see it. Let your own eyes see it. I am your Abba, and I did not forget you. Now let me take you somewhere in my word, because I want you to see yourself in it before I tell you what I am about to tell you. There was a man named Balaam. You may not know his story well, but I want you to see it clearly, because it is closer to your life than you realize. Balaam was a prophet, hired by a king named Balak, and Balak wanted Balaam to curse my people. Balaam saddled his donkey and set out on the road, and I was not pleased with the road he had chosen. So I placed an angel in his path, an angel with a drawn sword, standing right there in the road, visible to everyone except Balaam himself. The donkey saw what Balaam could not see. 3 times that donkey turned off the path, pressed against a wall, and finally lay down in the road altogether. And 3 times Balaam beat that poor animal in frustration, blind to the very danger the donkey was trying to save him from. My child, do you see it? The one who was supposed to have the spiritual sight was blind. The one who seemed the least significant, the one everyone would have overlooked, was the one who actually saw me first. And then I did something I do not do often. I opened the mouth of that donkey and it spoke. Numbers chapter 22 verse 28 says it plainly. Then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth, and it said to Balaam, "What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times?" Sit with that for a moment, my child. I took the most unlikely voice in the entire story, an animal, something with no status, no title, nothing the world would consider qualified, and I used it to stop a man from walking straight into destruction. I have never needed the qualified voice. I have never needed the impressive resume, the perfect timing, the polished plan. I use whatever I choose, whenever I choose, to save the people I love. Do you understand why I am telling you this first? Because for years, you have believed the lie that you were the donkey in your own story. Overlooked, beaten down by circumstances, misunderstood by the very people who should have seen your worth. You have felt unqualified, unnoticed, unimpressive, next to people who seem to have it all figured out. But my child, I want you to hear this clearly. The donkey saw the angel first. The one everyone dismissed saw me before the prophet did. Your obscurity was never a disqualification. It was a vantage point. There is a woman I want to tell you about now, because her story will show you exactly how this works in real life, not just in ancient scripture. Her name is Celine Cardwell, and she lives in Jackson, Mississippi. For 3 years, Celine had one dream that would not let go of her. A graduate program she believed, with everything in her, was the doorway to the calling I had placed on her life. She was in her 40s when she applied. She had gone back to school later than most, working a job that drained her during the day and studying late into the night after her children were finally asleep. She poured everything she had into that application. Every essay, every recommendation letter she had to ask for with trembling hands, feeling like she was begging. And then the rejection came. Celine told the people close to her, and later told me, alone in her bedroom with the door shut, that reading that letter felt like the wind had been knocked completely out of her chest. She sat on the edge of her bed, the letter still in her hand, and she did not cry right away. She told me the tears came later, after the shock wore off, sometime around 11 that night, when the house was quiet, and she finally let herself feel the full weight of it. She said it felt like I had let her down, like she had misread the whole thing, like the sense of calling she had carried for years was nothing but her own wishful thinking. She almost stopped praying about it altogether. She told me, honestly, in the rawest prayer she had prayed in years, "God, if this wasn't you, then I don't even know what I've been listening to." My child, I want you to hear how honest that prayer was, because I am not offended by honesty. I welcome it. I would rather you scream your disappointment at me than pretend in front of me. Celine did not pretend. For the next several weeks, she kept working, kept showing up to a job that no longer felt meaningful, kept putting her children to bed and lying awake wondering if she had missed her window entirely. But here is what she did not know. While she was grieving that closed door, I was already redirecting an opportunity toward her that she had never applied for, never heard of, and never could have orchestrated on her own. 45 days after that rejection letter, Celine received an email from a program director she had never contacted, referencing a recommendation letter someone had submitted on her behalf without her even asking, someone who had heard about her story secondhand and felt compelled, out of nowhere, to reach out on her behalf. That email led to an interview. That interview led to an acceptance into a program even more aligned with her calling than the one that had rejected her, one with funding she never thought she would qualify for. 45 days, my child, between the closed door and the door I had already been building behind the scenes. Celine told me later, with tears that were completely different from the ones on her bed that first night, that she finally understood. The closed door was never me abandoning her plan. It was me protecting her for a bigger one. I am telling you Celine's story because some of you are sitting in your own version of that bedroom right now, holding your own version of that rejection letter. A door slammed, a dream deferred, a no that felt like it came from me instead of just being one closed door among many I was already working around. My child, I need you to hear this the way Celine needed to hear it. Your rejection is not my final answer. It is often the very hinge I use to swing you toward the door I actually built for you. Hit the like button as your agreement with heaven. I am not asking for a like because I care about numbers. Numbers mean nothing to me. I own the cattle on 1,000 hills. I do not need your engagement metrics. But I care about agreement. When you press that button, you are saying, I agree that God is still working, even in my closed doors. That agreement matters more than you know, because agreement is a spiritual posture. It is the posture Celine had to fight to get back to after that rejection letter. It is the posture I am asking you to take right now, in this exact second, before you keep listening. Now, my child, let me go back to what I started to tell you and then paused. There is something I have been keeping from you. I told you I would open that loop and let it sit. I am going to keep it open just a little longer, because you are not ready yet. But I will tell you this much. It has to do with a battle you have been fighting that looks far too big for you, and a number that is about to matter more than you think. Keep listening. I promise you, I always keep my promises. Let's talk about the enemy for a moment, because I do not want you walking through the rest of this message unaware of what has actually been happening around you. The enemy has not been trying to destroy your life in one dramatic blow. That would be too obvious. You would recognize it, resist it, pray against it immediately. No, his strategy with you has been slower, quieter, and far more effective, because it has worked on your mind instead of your circumstances. He has been whispering that you are behind, that everyone else your age has it figured out and you do not, that the years you spent struggling were wasted years instead of preparation years, that the door that closed on you was proof you were never really chosen at all. He has been especially loud about your comparison. He puts other people's timelines in front of your eyes, their weddings, their promotions, their homes, their peace, and he lets you sit there measuring your unfinished story against someone else's highlight reel. My child, that is not conviction. That is not me. That is a strategy as old as the garden, where he first asked Eve, did God really say? He is still asking that same question, just dressed differently. Did God really say you were chosen? Did God really say your season was coming? Look at your life. Does it look chosen to you? I want to answer that directly. Yes, I really did say it, and your life does not have to look finished for it to be chosen. Joseph's life did not look chosen from inside a pit. David's life did not look chosen while he was still smelling like sheep in his father's field. Your life does not have to look like anything the world recognizes as success for it to be exactly, precisely, undeniably chosen by me. Comment 555 if you are claiming this blessing right now. I want that number typed out because 5, in the pattern I have woven through Scripture, so often represents grace, undeserved, unearned favor that shows up not because you finally worked hard enough to deserve it, but because I decided, before the foundation of the world, to give it to you anyway. Type 555 and let it be your declaration. I am done believing the lie that I am behind. I am claiming grace, not earning it. Now, my child, let me go deeper into what everything means. because that is the exact promise that brought you here. The thumbnail told you it was time to tell you everything. I do not make promises I do not intend to keep, so here is the next layer. Everything includes the parts of your story you are ashamed of, the years you wasted or think you wasted, the relationships you should have left sooner, the dream you buried because you were tired of watching it die slowly in front of you. Everything includes those parts, because I am not selective in my love the way people have been selective in theirs. I do not edit you down to your highlight reel before I decide to use you. I use the whole story, the pit and the palace, the rejection letter and the acceptance that came 45 days later, all of it. There is a battle happening right now that I want to show you, because it is the next piece of what I have been keeping from you. His name was Gideon, and when I found him, he was hiding. Not standing boldly in a field, not leading an army, not doing anything that looked remotely like the beginning of a great story. He was threshing wheat in a wine press, in secret, because he was terrified of the Midianites who had been oppressing his people for 7 long years. 7 years of stolen crops, 7 years of hiding in caves and mountain clefts, 7 years of asking, the way you have asked, where are you, God, in all of this? And I called him a mighty warrior. While he was hiding in a hole in the ground, shaking, I called him mighty. Gideon actually argued with me about it. He told me his clan was the weakest in Manasseh, and he was the least in his father's house. He listed his qualifications for failure the way you have listed yours, and I did not argue back with logic. I simply told him, I will be with you. Here is where it gets specific, my child, because this is the part I want you to hold on to tightly. I told Gideon to gather an army to fight the Midianites, and 32,000 men showed up. 32,000, and I told him that was too many. Not because I could not use a large army, but because I did not want Israel boasting in their own strength when the victory came. So I had Gideon send home everyone who was afraid. 22,000 men left. Still too many. I had him test the remaining 10,000 by how they drank water at the stream, and from that test, I narrowed the army down to 300 men. 300, my child, against an enemy described as thick as locusts, with camels as numerous as the sand on the seashore. It should have been an impossible mismatch. And then I said something to Gideon that I want you to hear, as if I am saying it directly to you tonight, because in a way, I am. Judges chapter 7 verse 7. The Lord said to Gideon, with the 300 men that lapped, I will save you and give the Midianites into your hands. Let all the other men go, each to his own place. I want you to notice what I did not do. I did not wait until Gideon felt strong enough. I did not wait until the army was impressive enough. I stripped it down to almost nothing so that when the victory came, and it did come, decisively, without Gideon's men even having to swing a sword in the final moment, because I threw the enemy into confusion in their own camp, there would be no question about who won that battle. It was me, not the numbers, not the strategy, me. My child, I know you have been counting your resources and coming up short. I know you have looked at your bank account, your support system, your energy level, your years remaining, and thought, I don't have enough for what I'm being called to do. I want you to hear me clearly. I have never once needed you to have enough. I have only ever needed you to be willing enough. 300 men who were willing were worth more to me than 32,000 men who were merely present. Your willingness is worth more than your resources will ever be. Stay with me, because I am not done with Gideon yet. There is a piece of this story I am going to come back to in a few minutes, and it connects directly to the promise the thumbnail made you. Right now I want to pause and speak straight to you, wherever you are watching this. I know you are tired, my child. I know you have asked the question, why me? Why this? Why now? More times than you have let anyone know. I know there have been nights you prayed until you had no more words, and mornings you woke up, and the answer still had not come, and you had to get up anyway and go be strong for people who have no idea what you are carrying. I see every one of those mornings. I was in the room. I was not silent. I was simply working on a timeline you could not yet see, the same way I was working behind Celine's closed door for 45 days before she ever saw the fruit of it. I also know the specific fear some of you are carrying tonight, the fear that you are too old to start over, too far behind to catch up, too tired to believe again after being disappointed so many times. My child, hear me. Age has never disqualified anyone I have called. Gideon was already grown, already carrying years of fear and disappointment, already convinced his story was too small to matter when I called him mighty. I am not calling you based on how much time you think you have left. I am calling you based on the plan I wrote before you had any time at all. Share this with one person God puts on your heart right now. Not everyone, not a broad audience, one person. As you have been listening, someone's face has probably already come to your mind. Someone who needs to hear that they passed, that it is time for them to hear everything too. That is not a coincidence. That is me placing a name in your spirit. Obey it. Send this to them before you forget, because the enemy wants you to forget the very instructions I give you the moment this video ends. Now, my child, let me return to the promise I made you at the beginning of this message, because I do not want you to think I forgot it. You clicked on this video because of two specific things. The title told you that you passed. The thumbnail told you it was time for everything to be revealed. I want to speak directly into both of those claims again, right now, because this is not filler content. This is the anchor point I promised you. You passed. Not a general test that everyone passes eventually, if they wait long enough. You passed the specific test of your specific season. The rejection Celine faced and grieved before the breakthrough came. The 7 years of hiding Gideon endured before he ever picked up a trumpet. The years you have spent wondering if I forgot the promise I whispered to you when you were younger. You passed all of it. Every night you did not give up. Even when giving up would have been so much easier. That was me recording a passing grade over your life that the enemy has been trying to hide from you. And it is time to tell you everything, because I am not finished with what I promised to reveal. I have shown you the donkey that saw the angel first. I have shown you Gideon and his 300. But there is one more story left, one more testimony left, and one more piece of everything that I have deliberately saved for later in this message, because you needed to be strengthened by the first two before you could receive the weight of the third. Stay with me. We are only getting started. I want to talk to you now about what it actually felt like inside Celine Cardwell's home during those 45 days, because I do not want you to think her breakthrough came easily, or that she floated through that season on some cloud of unbroken faith. She did not. There were nights during those 45 days when she sat at her kitchen table after her children went to bed, staring at nothing, wondering if she had misheard me entirely. She told a friend, during week 3, that she was starting to feel embarrassed for having believed so boldly in the first place. Embarrassment, my child, that particular flavor of shame that whispers, everyone can see that you believed for something that didn't happen. That is one of the enemy's favorite tools, because it does not just attack your hope, it attacks your dignity. But here is what Celine did that I want you to notice carefully. Even in her most discouraged moments, she kept doing the next small thing. She kept applying to other programs. She kept showing up to her job with integrity, even though her heart was somewhere else. She kept praying, even when her prayers had gotten shorter and more honest and less polished. God, I don't understand, but I'm still here. That prayer, 5 words, nothing eloquent about it, was more powerful in my eyes than 1,000 perfectly worded prayers spoken by someone who had already given up in their heart. My child, if your prayers have gotten shorter lately, if you have run out of eloquent words and all you have left is God, I don't understand, but I'm still here. I want you to know that prayer is enough. It has always been enough. I do not weigh your prayers by their length or their beauty. I weigh them by whether you kept showing up to say them at all. There is something else I want to unpack about Numbers 22:28, because I do not want you to miss the fullness of what that verse is teaching you. The donkey did not just see the angel. The donkey had been faithfully carrying Balaam for years before that moment. It had never failed him, never rebelled, never once given him reason to distrust it, and yet the very moment it did something unusual, something that seemed like disobedience, Balaam beat it 3 times without stopping to ask why. He assumed rebellion where there was actually protection. My child, how many times has that happened to you? How many times has someone, a parent, a spouse, a friend, even you yourself, interpreted your hesitation, your caution, your unwillingness to keep walking down a certain path as stubbornness or fear, when in reality your spirit was sensing something dangerous that your mind had not yet processed? I want you to stop beating yourself up for the times you slowed down, changed direction, or refused to keep moving forward on a path that felt wrong. Sometimes what looks like you failing to move is actually me protecting you from a sword you cannot yet see. I also want to say this plainly, because I know some of you are carrying guilt about doubting me during a hard season. You are not the first one I have used despite doubt. Balaam himself was far from perfect. Scripture does not present him as a hero. And yet I used even a donkey in his story to accomplish my purposes and reveal my protection. If I can speak through a donkey, my child, I can absolutely work through your doubt, your fear, your imperfect faith. I am not waiting for you to become spiritually flawless before I move on your behalf. I have never required perfection. I have only ever required availability. Let me speak now about the specific shape of the fear I see sitting on so many of you tonight. It is not always a dramatic fear. Sometimes it is quiet, the fear that shows up at 2 in the morning as a tightness in your chest when you think about your finances. The fear that shows up when you look in the mirror and wonder if you have already missed your window for the life you wanted. The fear that shows up when you see someone younger than you accomplishing something you have not yet accomplished, and a small, ugly voice whispers that your time has passed. I want to dismantle that voice right now, in this exact sentence, because it does not come from me. Ecclesiastes tells you there is a time for everything, a season for every purpose under heaven, and seasons, by their very nature, change. The season of waiting you have been in is not a permanent address. It is a temporary residence I have kept you in on purpose, the same way I kept Gideon threshing wheat in secret before I called him out into the open as a mighty warrior. Your winepress season is ending. I would not have sent you this message tonight if it were not. Type Abba again in the comments if your spirit just stirred reading that last part. I am asking you to type it a second time, not because the first time did not count, but because repetition matters in the spirit realm, the way it mattered when Gideon's men shouted and blew trumpets and broke jars all at the same moment, creating a sound and a chaos that confused the entire Midianite camp. Sometimes one declaration softens the ground. The second declaration is what breaks it open. Type Abba again. Let it be your trumpet. I told you earlier there was something I have been keeping from you, and I promised I would tell you when you were ready. My child, you are almost ready, but not quite yet. I need to show you one more thing about Gideon's 300 men before I close that loop completely, because the way I chose them is directly connected to the secret I am about to reveal to you. Out of the 10,000 men who remained after the fearful ones were sent home, I had Gideon watch how each man drank water from the stream. Most of them knelt down, put their faces to the water, and drank carelessly, fully absorbed in satisfying their thirst, unaware and unguarded. But 300 men cupped the water in their hands and drank while remaining alert, watching, still ready for whatever might come. Those 300 were the ones I chose, not because they were stronger, not because they were more skilled with a sword, because they stayed alert even in a moment of vulnerability. They did not fully let their guard down even while meeting a basic need. My child, that is the posture I am calling you into right now. I am not asking you to stop living your life. Stop eating. Stop resting. Stop meeting your needs while you wait on me. I am asking you to stay alert while you do it. Keep your eyes open even in ordinary moments. Keep watching for me even while you are doing something as simple as drinking water at a stream, because I move in ordinary moments more often than I move in dramatic ones. Celine's breakthrough did not come during a mountaintop worship experience. It came in an email, on an ordinary weekday, while she was doing ordinary things. I want to talk about the pit for a moment, because so many of you are convinced that the pit season you are in, or the pit season you just climbed out of, was wasted time. It was not wasted. Every single thing that happened to you in that pit was collecting information, building character, forging patience, that you are going to need for what is coming. You could not skip that step. There is no shortcut through the pit that leads to the same depth of strength you are gaining by walking through it. I know it feels unfair. I know you look at people who seem to have skipped their pit season entirely and wonder why you were not given that same ease. My child, their story is not your story, and their calling does not require what your calling requires. I built your pit specifically for what I built you to carry. I want to remind you again, because the enemy will try to make you forget this the moment you finish watching, that this message is not just spiritual entertainment for you to enjoy for 17 minutes and then set aside. This is a divine transmission. The title told you that you passed. The thumbnail told you it was time to tell you everything. I have already shown you that the donkey saw the angel before the prophet did, that 300 willing men accomplished what 32,000 present men could not, and that Celine Cardwell held on to a 5-word prayer for 45 days until the door I had already built for her finally opened. That is not everything yet. That is only the beginning of everything. There is more waiting for you on the other side of this next part, and I am not going to let you leave before I give it to you. Stay with me. Do not go anywhere. What comes next is going to answer the question you have been most afraid to ask me, the question about whether it is too late for you to start over. It is not too late, and I am about to show you exactly why. I told you I was keeping something from you, and I told you I would tell you when you were ready. My child, here it is. The thing I have been keeping is this, the very fear you are most ashamed of, the fear of starting over too late, the fear that your best years already happened and passed you by without you noticing. That fear is not evidence against your calling. It is the exact battlefield where I am about to prove myself the loudest in your life. I saved this revelation until now because I needed you to see Gideon's 300 first. I needed you to see that I do not need much to work with. Now I am going to show you what that looks like in a real life, in real time, in a story that mirrors exactly what some of you are walking through right now. His name is Rutherford Blaze, and he lives in Montgomery, Alabama. Rutherford spent over 20 years in a career that paid the bills but never once touched the deeper part of him, the part that felt called towards something else entirely, something he had quietly buried under responsibility, mortgage payments, and the fear of disappointing the people who depended on him. He was in his early 50s when the ache became too loud to keep ignoring. He would sit in his car in the parking lot before work, engine off, just sitting there some mornings for 10-15 minutes, unable to make himself walk through the doors of a job that felt like it was slowly hollowing him out. Rutherford told me, in prayers he almost did not say out loud because he felt foolish saying them, that he believed I had put something else in him, a gift for teaching, for mentoring younger people, something he had glimpsed only in small volunteer moments over the years, moments that lit him up in a way his actual career never had. But the fear was massive. He had people counting on his paycheck. He had a mortgage. He had, in his own words, too much life built already to tear it down and start over. He told himself the door for that kind of change had closed for men his age. He told himself it was reckless, irresponsible, maybe even selfish, to consider walking away from stability toward something so uncertain. For weeks, Rutherford wrestled with this in near silence. He did not tell many people. He carried it the way so many of you have carried your own quiet ache, smiling at dinner, showing up for your family, doing what needed to be done, while a completely different battle raged in private, in the parts of you no one else got to see. He described one particular Tuesday night, lying awake next to his sleeping wife, staring at the ceiling fan turning slowly above him, feeling like he was suffocating under a life that looked fine from the outside and felt like a slow death on the inside. That night, Rutherford prayed something simple. He said, "God, if this is really from you, I need you to make it undeniable, because I am too scared to move on a feeling alone. My child, I want you to notice that prayer, because it is not a prayer of great faith. It is a prayer of honest fear asking for confirmation, and I do not despise that kind of prayer. I honor it, because underneath the fear was still a willingness, the same willingness I was looking for in Gideon's 300. Over the following 4 weeks, I began doing what I do best, moving in ways too specific to be coincidence, yet too quiet to be undeniable to anyone but Rutherford himself. In week 1, an old colleague reached out completely out of the blue, mentioning an opening at a non-profit that trained career changers in midlife, a job description that read almost exactly like the gift Rutherford had buried for 20 years. In week 2, his wife, without knowing anything about his private prayers, sat him down one evening and said, "I've noticed you come alive when you talk about mentoring people. Have you ever thought about doing that for real?" Rutherford said his hands were shaking when she said it, because it felt like I had used her voice to answer a prayer she did not even know he had prayed. In week 3, the fear tried to come back even louder, the way it always does right before a breakthrough. He second-guessed everything. He told himself it was too risky, too late, too foolish. But he remembered his own prayer, "Make it undeniable," and he kept walking forward one small step at a time, instead of waiting for the fear to disappear completely before he moved. He submitted an application he almost deleted 3 times before finally sending it. In week 4, 28 days after that sleepless Tuesday night, staring at the ceiling fan, Rutherford Blaze received a phone call offering him the position. Not a perfect financial match to his old salary at first, but enough, combined with a peace he said he had not felt in over a decade, to know without a shadow of a doubt that I had answered him. He told me later, with tears in his voice during a quiet prayer one Sunday morning, that the 4 weeks between that prayer and that phone call were the hardest and most sacred weeks of his entire adult life, because for the first time in 20 years, he had trusted me with something bigger than his own ability to control the outcome. My child, this is what I meant when I said, at the very beginning of this message, that it was time to tell you everything. This is the everything I was holding back until this exact moment. Your fear of starting too late is not a disqualifying fear. It is often the doorway fear, the very last wall the enemy throws up, right before I move you into the next chapter. Rutherford was in his 50s. He had 20 years of momentum in the wrong direction, and I turned it in 4 weeks. 4 weeks, my child. Not because Rutherford suddenly became fearless. He told me himself he was still scared even after he accepted the job, but because he moved, despite the fear, instead of waiting for the fear to leave first. Remember what I told you at the start about this message being time for everything to be revealed. Here is what it truly means. It does not mean every question gets a perfectly comfortable answer. It means I am willing to walk into the very rooms you have been most afraid to let me into. Your fear about your age, your fear about your finances, your fear about whether you have already wasted your best years. And show you, plainly, without hiding anything, that none of those fears are bigger than what I am capable of doing in 4 weeks, 45 days, or however long you have been counting. This is exactly where Gideon's story comes back around, because I promised you I was not finished with it. Remember, I told Gideon that with 300 men who lapped water while staying alert, I would save Israel and hand the Midianites over. Judges 7:7 was not just a strategy for an ancient battle. It was a pattern I have used again and again throughout history, and I am using it in your life right now. I strip things down, resources, timelines, comfort, certainty, not to punish you, but to make absolutely certain that when the victory comes, you will know, without a single doubt in your heart, that it came from me and not from your own strength. Rutherford's 20 years of career security were, in a strange way, his version of the 32,000 men. Comfortable, safe, impressive by the world's standards. But it was not going to get him to what I had actually called him toward. I had to strip it down to something smaller, scarier, and far more dependent on faith. A job offer that came with less certainty but more purpose, before he could ever walk into what I built specifically for him. Type 1. Agree if you believe this is for you. I am not asking you to type those words as a formality. I am asking you because agreement is a legal transaction in the spirit realm. When you type I agree, you are standing in Rutherford's shoes, and Celine's shoes, and Gideon's 300, declaring that you believe I can do in your life what I did in theirs, on whatever timeline I choose, 45 days, 28 days, or 4 weeks, and that you are done letting fear make the final decision about your future. I want to speak to something specific now, because I know it is sitting heavy on some of you. You are afraid that if you step out toward the calling, the career change, the dream you buried, you will lose everything you have built. I want to remind you of something. Everything you have built without me was never actually secure to begin with. Rutherford's 20 years of stability felt secure, but it was slowly killing something in him that mattered more than a paycheck. Stability without purpose is just a slower kind of suffering. I am not calling you to recklessness. I am calling you to obedience. And obedience, even when it looks smaller and scarier on paper, has always produced what disobedient comfort never could. If this message shifted something in you, consider sowing a seed of faith using the super thanks button below. Not as payment. I do not sell my presence, and I never will. Consider it a declaration that you believe what I am releasing in your life right now is worth more than whatever you are giving. A seed is not a transaction. It is a statement of trust. You are telling me, with something tangible, that you believe the breakthrough Rutherford experienced in 4 weeks and the breakthrough Celine experienced in 45 days is available to you too, and you are willing to plant something before you see the full harvest. My child, I know some of you are hesitant about giving anything right now, and I want to be honest with you the way I have been honest throughout this entire message. You do not have to give a single dollar for me to love you, to move on your behalf, or to finish what I started in you tonight. My love was never for sale, and it never will be. But I also know that obedience to a nudge in your spirit has always, throughout history, unlocked something on the other side of it that logic alone could never explain. If your spirit is nudging you right now, that nudge is me, not guilt, not manipulation, a quiet invitation. Let me tell you now about the third and final story I promised you at the beginning of this message, because it carries the deepest layer of what everything means, and it is not finished yet, which is exactly why I saved it for last. Long before David ever picked up a sling and stood in front of Goliath, before he was a king, before songs were written about him, there was a day when a prophet named Samuel walked into the house of a man named Jesse, sent by me on an assignment Jesse did not fully understand. I had told Samuel I had chosen one of Jesse's sons to be the next king of Israel, and Samuel expected the choice to be obvious. Jesse paraded his sons in front of Samuel one by one, tall sons, strong sons, sons who looked exactly like what a king was supposed to look like. Samuel looked at the oldest, Eliab, and thought, surely this is the one. But I told Samuel something that has echoed through every generation since, something I want you to receive personally tonight, as if I am speaking it directly over your own life. 1 Samuel 16:7. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 7 sons passed in front of Samuel that day. 7 times I said no, and Jesse had not even bothered to call his youngest son in from the fields, because David was so insignificant in his father's eyes that Jesse did not consider him worth including in the lineup at all. David was out tending sheep, smelling like the flock, forgotten by his own family in the moment that would define the rest of his life. And when Samuel finally asked, are these all the sons you have? Jesse almost sheepishly admitted there was one more, the youngest, out with the sheep. My child, do you see it? The one who was overlooked by his own father was the one I had already chosen before Samuel ever walked through that door. I did not choose David because of what he looked like. I chose him because of what I saw in his heart, a heart that worshipped me in the fields when no one was watching, a heart that fought lions and bears in secret, long before anyone gave him credit for courage, a heart that trusted me completely before the world ever knew his name. I want to tell you about a woman named Anwin Fairbrook now, because her story is still being written, and I want you to understand why I am telling you an unfinished story on purpose. Anwin lives in Columbus, Georgia, and for years she carried a creative gift I had placed in her, a project close to her heart that she poured herself into during a season when she felt more alive than she had in years. But discouragement came, the way it so often does, not through one dramatic failure but through a slow accumulation of small ones. A few people close to her dismissed the project as impractical, a setback here, a rejection there, a comment from someone she respected that cut deeper than they probably intended. One by one, those small discouragements piled up until Anwin did something that broke my heart to watch, because I knew what was inside that project. She put it away, boxed it up, physically and emotionally, stopped talking about it, told herself it had been a phase, a foolish season of thinking too highly of her own ability. For a long stretch of time, Anwin lived like David out in the fields, overlooked, even by herself. She went through her days doing what needed to be done, but the fire that had once been so bright inside her dimmed to something she rarely even acknowledged anymore. She told me, in a prayer she almost did not finish because she felt silly praying about something she had already given up on, God, if that was ever really from you, I don't understand why I couldn't finish it. My child, I want you to hear what I am about to say, because it applies to every single one of you who has a project, a dream, a calling sitting in a box somewhere, physically or emotionally, that you convinced yourself was a phase. I have not forgotten it. I have not moved on from it just because you stopped talking about it. The same way I had not forgotten David while he was out in the fields, forgotten by his own father, I have not forgotten what I placed in you. Anwin's story is still unfolding right now, as I speak these words to you. In recent weeks, Small things have begun happening that she cannot fully explain. A conversation with a stranger that reignited a piece of the vision she thought was dead. An unexpected question from someone asking whatever happened to that project she used to talk about. A quiet stirring in prayer that she describes as feeling like me, tapping her gently on the shoulder saying, "It's not over." She has not seen the full breakthrough yet. She is, right now, in the exact posture David was in out in that field, unseen by most, uncertain of the timeline, but not forgotten by me. I am telling you this story specifically because I do not want you to think every testimony I give you has to have a neat, finished ending for it to be real. Some of what I am doing in your life right now is still unfolding, the same way it is still unfolding in Anwen's life. If you are in the middle of your own unfinished chapter, discouraged, wondering if the dream you buried was ever really from me, I want you to hear this the way I want Anwen to hear it. I have already chosen what I placed in you, long before anyone else validated it, long before you had proof it would work, long before the world was watching. The world does not have to see your heart for me to have already chosen you based on it. Comment, "I agree," if you are claiming this. That whatever you buried is not finished. That whatever discouragement piled up against you is not the final word. That I see your heart the way I saw David's heart in that field. Someone who sowed a seed of faith last week, in obedience to a nudge just like the one some of you are feeling right now, reached out afterward to share that, within days, a door connected to a long-dormant creative project, one they had quietly given up on, much like Anwen, opened again for the first time in over a year. I am not telling you that giving guarantees a specific outcome on a specific timeline. I am telling you that obedience to the nudge I place in your spirit has never once returned to me empty. Your seed is not going to a person. It is going into the kingdom, and the kingdom always multiplies what is planted in faith, even when the multiplication looks different than you expected. You do not have to give anything for me to keep working in your life tonight. I want to say that again, clearly, because I never want money to be the barrier between you and my presence. But if your spirit is stirring right now, if there is a small voice telling you this is the moment to plant something, even something small, I want you to know that voice is me, and obedience to that voice has unlocked the next level for my people throughout every single generation that has ever walked with me. Subscribe now, and let me speak the final declaration over you before we close. My child, remember the promise you clicked on. The title told you that you passed. The thumbnail told you it was time to tell you everything. I have shown you a donkey who saw an angel before a prophet did, because your overlooked seasons were never wasted. I have shown you 300 men who defeated thousands, because your lack of resources was never a disqualification. I have shown you Celine Cardwell's 45 days, Rutherford Blaze's 28 days, and Anwen Fairbrook's story that is still being written right now, because every single one of you watching is somewhere on that same timeline, waiting, walking, or right on the edge of breakthrough. And I have shown you David, overlooked by his own father, chosen by me not for what he looked like, but for what was in his heart. This is the fullness of everything I promised to tell you. You passed, not because your life looks finished, but because you kept showing up through seasons that would have destroyed someone who was never truly chosen. And it was time to tell you everything, because you needed, once and for all, to stop believing the lie that your obscurity, your fear, your unfinished chapters disqualify you from the plan I wrote for you before you were born. If this message reached the deepest part of you tonight, consider one final seed of faith before you go. Not as payment for what you received here. What I have given you tonight was never for sale, but as your own declaration, planted in obedience, that you believe the same God who moved for Celine in 45 days, for Rutherford in 28, and who is still moving for Anwen right now. is moving for you too. Share this message with the one person whose face came to your mind while you were listening. Comment Abba or 555 or I agree, whichever one your spirit is stirring toward right now, and let it be recorded in this exact moment that you received everything I came to tell you tonight. You are not who you were 3 minutes ago. You walked into this message carrying fear about being too late, too overlooked, too far behind, too unqualified. You are leaving it carrying the truth that the donkey saw the angel first, that 300 willing men defeated thousands, that 45 days changed Celine's entire story, that 28 days changed Rutherford's, and that whatever is unfinished in you right now is not forgotten by me, the same way David was never forgotten out in that field. You are not who you were 3 minutes ago, my child, because you have heard what I came here tonight to tell you. All of it, everything. Go now, and walk like someone who finally knows they passed.